This is 5 Live Boxing.
We're on the ground in Saudi. In fact, we've been in the red sand desert with camels. The fight week has officially started. I'm here, the camels are here, and the fight's happening. I've spoken to both fighters, Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. I've watched them train. I've got a sense of it. It is a big fight week back in Saudi Arabia. I'm Steve Bunt, and this is 5 Live Boxing back on the road. Now, what I like about Saudi Arabia, trips to Saudi Arabia, is bizarrely, I'm surrounded by a lot of familiar faces. And I don't mean the camels, more on the camels coming up in a moment. But I'm sat opposite in this little deli diner to Andy Bell, AJ's publicist and also part of Soapbox London, which is probably his company. He just says he's part of it. It's probably his company. Yeah. There we go.
Owner of Soapbox. Sorry, co-owner. Sorry, Rowan.
Co-owner of Soapbox London. But he's also, more importantly, he's AJ's publicist. You've probably seen him hundreds of times. He's just in the background, drifting somewhere, but his ear's close enough to hear what AJ is saying, and more importantly, what AJ is being asked. So, Andy, first of all, welcome back to the pod. Then we also, we generally use you on the day before the fight. But you're not here because no one else could come here, honestly. Don't call me Pinocchio. No, hand on heart.
It's funny, I almost didn't do this, Bunsey, because the invoice is still outstanding from the last
there's no need for that kind of
3 or 4. I mean, if it wasn't the Great British Broadcasting Corporation, then, I wouldn't be sat here.
Well, listen, Paddy English will sort you out with that, don't worry. Paddy the promoter will do that. Andy, first of all, welcome back to Saudi.
Thanks.
You've been back. When did you fly in? When did AJ fly in?
So the entire team arrived last Thursday. So we've been here for a few days now. We go back, various times after the fight. I'm going back Sunday for Mother's Day to go and see my children and my wife, which I'm looking forward to doing.
Thanks for reminding me about that one. Thank you very much.
So we've been here a few days now, but we know the drill. Yeah, this isn't the first time, and I should imagine it's not the last time either. We first came here in 2019, and.
What an event that was.
It was, wasn't it?
Andy Ruiz rematch. I loved every bit of that.
Yeah, it was
apart from the rain.
Indeed, yeah. But no, so we're well versed here in Saudi. We know the drill. And obviously, we were only here a few months ago.
Yeah.
In this very same hotel that we're sat in talking to each other right now. So it feels like we haven't really been away. So it's a second home, definitely. Second home for the sport at the moment. Maybe even the first home. Who knows?
It might be classified as the first home. And that sort of familiarity and knowing your way around, I think that AJ likes that type of stuff.
Yeah. He's, in my view anyway, he's a creature of habit. I think you'll see with a lot of the team that's around him as well, and I know we've talked about this previously, but you'll see the same faces. He likes to keep the same people around him, whether it's the people who are training, and you might laugh, consider how many sort of head trainers that he's worked with recently, but then there's probably a smaller team underneath that who have been with him really from day one. And then on the more sort of commercial side and management side, it's literally been the same people since day one, really. So he's a creature of habit. I think, as you say, in the setup and the fight weeks, he likes to know what he's doing when it's being done. And
likes to be surrounded by I'm just getting a drink. I'm getting
some sort of mocktail.
No, you're joking. It's not. It's a mint and lemon.
It looks delicious.
It's really nice. It comes in this container. Anyway, I digress.
It's normally
0%.
It's normally a pint of London Pride when I sit down with Bunsey.
Not today. Not in Saudi. Let's get that erased.
On the fight week schedules, as we were discussing, he is a very professional man inside and outside of the ring, and he likes things to be properly scheduled. If he's told to arrive somewhere at 4 and he's going to leave at 6, he will arrive at 4 and he expects to leave at 6, which is completely, I respect that very much, given the fact that he's a professional athlete. I think boxing is a really interesting sport. My business, we work in multiple different sports. Boxing is a crazy one in terms of the media and what these guys are actually paid to do. I think, there's probably a misconception that boxers are paid to box. You know, a lot of the time, I think boxers are paid to fill arenas.
Yeah.
And what happens in those arenas is almost a byproduct of that, which is a bit mad when you think about it, isn't it? You know, but how many other sports can you look at where days before Max Verstappen's jumping in the Red Bull, he is surrounded by media for days and days and days, and expected
can't
to
say
do
no.
And cannot say no. Yeah, you know, how many times in the build-up to a big World Cup final would you find Leo Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo being paraded in front of the world's media over and over again? You know,
I asked Rio Ferdinand about this after, a couple of months after. I think it was after the Day of Reckoning. No, maybe not Day of Reckoning. I think it was after maybe Fury and Ngannou. And I asked Rio Ferdinand about how, and I told him what they would do, and he just shook his head.
Yeah.
And I said, "What would you do, Rio?" And he said, "I'd send out the juniors." Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I said, "Rio, can you imagine being available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day?" And he just looked at me like I'd put in a bid to buy his grandmother.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It made no sense to Rio.
But also, Bunsey, I mean, you understand this. These guys, you know, and AJ especially, he will have locked himself away for 10 to 12 weeks.
And suddenly,
You emerge
good point.
into the sunshine, literally emerge into the sunshine here in Saudi Arabia, and you are surrounded, and everybody has a request.
Yeah,
Everybody, you know, and it's our job to filter that and make it as straightforward for him as possible, because at the end of the day, and as he would tell you directly, he loses, all of this goes away and nobody cares.
Absolutely.
He's yesterday's news.
Yep.
You know, so
Brutal but true.
we are striking that balance with him constantly to get what has to be done in terms of the overall promotion of the fight and keeping all the key stakeholders happy and content that the fighters have done their bit to promote the show. In the same way, doing all we can for him to make sure that we've given him the best possible opportunity to go and win on Friday, not Saturday night.
Yeah, big on Friday. So Andy, is it fair to say that for the Day of Reckoning, when he beat Otto Wallin, is it fair to say that there was maybe a little bit more pressure on all of the boxers, especially AJ?
Yeah.
Because I interviewed him that day, and I had to do that ridiculous thing where I come in on the left with one hat on, then I have to go out one door, come in over the other side with a different hat on. So 10 minutes
I've
apart.
never seen a man wear so many different hats.
It's not. You know, we laugh about it, but the pressure I'm under, no one cares about it. No one asks me. No one says to me, "How you doing?" No one says, "Steve, how you doing?" No one does. It's neither here nor there. But
The difference between me and you, though, is your invoices get paid.
there's just no need. You know what? Andy,
Sorry, low blow. Sorry.
You know, listen, there's plenty of other people in this hotel we can use, you know. Anyway, all just
quite empty. I can't really.
Actually, at 10 to 12, there's none, but it's neither here nor there. But quite seriously, because I sat down with him, you know, you're privy to it, and he just said, "Oh man, I just don't want to do this." And he said, "It's not personal, Steve."
Yeah,
I said, "I just want to fight."
No, Steve, you stitched me up that night.
No, I did. That's
I don't know if you
outrageous
can remember.
comment.
You absolutely stitched me up. It was the press conference. He wandered in, and generally, you know, if we let's take your lovely pod listeners slightly behind the scenes.
Yeah,
right?
please.
So generally, what tends to happen, especially with AJ, I can't speak for other fighters, is that on a press conference day, so the press conference might be scheduled to start at 4. Anthony will be there at 2:30, and there'll be at least an hour's worth of additional media that gets done before the main press conference. And a lot of the time, that's, you know, the host broadcasters. You know, DAZN needs something, whoever. All these people need something. On this particular occasion, Anthony walks into the room, and as you say, rightly, that week had been quite heavy. You know, he walks into the room, he's greeted by Steve Bunt saying, "I can't believe you're doing even more media." And for people who like to listen to the pod, I go back through social media, go back through YouTube, and you're
thank you.
Dinner is arriving.
Just got some chips arriving, but that's okay.
I'm midway through my anecdote.
No, go
back, listeners, go back through YouTube or social media. You will find a clip of Anthony saying, "What? Yeah, you're right." Looking around the room, locking eyes with me, with a look that petrifies me down to my absolute core. I was stitched up like a kipper on that particular evening.
I must admit, so what I was trying to do was win him over. So look, it's not my fault, AJ.
They've sent me here to do this. I said, no, leave him. He's a grown man. Let him be on his own. They said, no, Bunsey, you've got to go and talk to him. Not once, but twice. Put 2 different hats on. So in that sense, thank you very much indeed. I've just got my poached egg on my top of my Caesar salad. It's just arrived. No, quite seriously, Andy. There was a lot on. I mean, listen, he was still brilliant. He did 7 minutes, and he did different stuff for both. So
This one here seems to me, the whole event seems, I mean, it's a big event. It's world title fights, massive fights, big crowd, lots of money involved.
Yeah.
Well, world's attention, but, and that's just a really odd thing to say, but it seems really relaxed. Is that me imagining things?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, I think if you know him or you've worked with him for a number of years, like we have, there are certain tells in behaviour, and you can see certain things as you get closer to a fight. And I suppose that is only natural.
Yeah, of course.
You know, he is very giving of his time, very engaging, very energetic in conversation. And I think he has realised, as he's matured and fought more and more and more and experienced more life, that he needs to pull himself back a little bit in these fight weeks. Because you'll remember, Bunsey, early on, you know, when back-to-back stadium shows, we would spend days on the promotional trail, talking. And the energy that took from him was just insane.
Yeah.
And he's realised...
I'd see him after 7 hours and he'd be a man that was shattered.
Tiredness.
Yeah, you can see it in his eyes.
He's realised now he can't do that. If he wants to go and perform on Friday night, he has to limit that interaction. You know, and I think he's learned how to do that. And for us, again, as the team around him, we've learned that that's the right thing to do. We've had to evolve with him as well and learn actually.
Well, you've all been learning on the job to a degree.
Definitely.
It's not like you handled 10 other
Absolutely
previous
not.
heavyweight world champions.
No, absolutely not. I mean, for context, you know, before I did this, I mean, I've worked in PR my entire working career, which is too long to even mention at this stage, but I come from a world where people need to promote themselves constantly. And overall athletic performance isn't part of that world. You know, if you release a film or an album, your job is to promote that film or album. The hard work was done months and months ago.
Yeah.
Whereas with these guys,
It's the other way round.
it's the other way round.
Yeah,
It doesn't really jive. The two things don't really go together. So I think, you know, he's really worked out how to manage that process to make sure that the athletic performance is at the very centre and heart of what has to be achieved.
Andy, I'd like to move straight into the AJ interview, but I can't because I've got to go back to where you were about 6 minutes ago when you dropped something, and you know what I'm going to ask you. What are the tells? Come on, Andy, share the tells. I want to see them.
No,
I want to know his
trade
tells.
secrets. I mean, I think you can probably see some.
I've seen them enough times, and I've generally been right when I've said this is a really good AJ. I'm not so sure about this one. This is an unbelievable AJ, and I'm really not sure about this AJ. Because we missed some tells in New York, like the stay on his eye, like the coughing, like just the catching him in a quiet moment where he's taking a deep breath and sort of dropping his head into his hands. We missed some big ones like that. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, I think
we chose to miss some of those as well.
Oh,
because the train was completely flying at that point.
It wasn't stopping anywhere, was it, that train?
And it's funny, in that particular scenario, the loss that night was a shock, like, to our core. But everyone who was around him or associated with him.
True.
And it wasn't because, like, you know, you've been around the game. Fighters lose.
Yeah, of course.
Of course that happens. But for us, like you were saying, we're a young team. We hadn't experienced that. It was such a shock.
Yeah.
And we chose, probably, not knowingly, unwittingly, we missed a lot of things that now we would see clear as day.
Well, you know, Costello and I, Costello used to formerly this parish. We both missed it. I mean, we've done whole pods on our lack of detective qualities. but I did stand with AJ and had a chat with him, and I'm not just saying this, but he seems to be in a very, very fine place.
What a blessing it is. These are the best days of my life. I'm happy. I'm in a good place. Welcome to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. We're here. How are you looking forward to the fight?
I'm looking forward to it because I was a big believer in Ngannou being tough and hard when he fought Fury. I thought Fury would win easy, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think it was a walkover back then.
No, it wasn't at all. I don't think any fight with any man's a walkover, unless you're fighting a real dweeb. But Ngannou's a strong man, but so am I at the end of the day. So let's go. What have we got to lose? Let's put it all on the line.
On a technical point, AJ, how much more can he learn? Like, he learnt the basics last time out. Good jab, decent footwork, big right hand, big left hook if it came across. Can he just make them better? He can't learn a lot more, can he, in 2 months?
I learned so much. Even today in the gym, I learned. And I take it on board. I watch it over. I learn every day, Steve. So, yeah, you can learn, for sure. So I'm expecting a better Ngannou.
But you're also using stuff that you learned that you didn't even know you'd learned. You're reminding yourself of stuff. That's that grade, 14 years of that grade, hearing things, seeing things.
Exactly. Going over them, relearning, remapping my brain again, what I've got to do, drilling. The coaching team drill me. So it'll just be second nature to me when it comes to the fight.
Because you're taking in things you don't know you're taking in. You think about when you were that skinny kid in Las Vegas.
Listen to one of our interviews that we done 14 years ago, you know.
14?
Yeah, we done an interview 14 years ago, and I think he was asking me about the Olympics, and I was explaining to you, I just keep my head on my shoulders and all that stuff. I listened to it about 2 weeks ago, yeah.
I listened to one from the Olympic period, and I sound about 30 years younger, and you sound about 11.
It's mad, isn't it? How time flies. That's what I mean. Friday's going to come, Friday's going to go, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm just looking forward to living my life and making the most out of all these great memories we're creating, because time just keeps flying by.
You've been referring to that sort of living your life and doing stuff. I'm not talking about retirement talk, but you can see that there is a life out there somewhere after boxing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But right now it's all boxing in the sense that this is the best time of my life, and I'm going to enjoy it. Like, these moments, these nights, these fights. Look at getting through training camp after training camp, putting my body through so much, and the challenge ahead of me, what it means to me mentally, where it takes me mentally. You know what? I learned so much about myself. I've become such a strong individual through this sport, boxing. Without this sport, I don't think I'd be half the man I am.
Hey, did you watch back some of those early fights of yours, even some of your last amateur stuff? Have you ever? I've never asked you this. Have you ever watched the Olympics?
Yeah, I watch it all, Steve. I watch it all. I watch our interviews. I watch it all.
And when you look at Ngannou, okay, he's a strange character because he's so nice and he's got that great backstory. If he was a basketball player, he'd be your favourite. If he was a netball player, she'd be your favourite with that backstory.
Yeah, correct. But that's for you to enjoy it, not for me. Not for me, it's a fight at the end of the day. But for you guys, you can enjoy all that backstory stuff, you know?
And this training, talk about a training camp. This is a really serious training camp in Harlow, working with Ben Davison. Has that been as good as you sound excellent? You sound perfect. And so is the whole camp, not the physical side of it, the rest of it, the important stuff.
Very good. I know exactly what I've got to do. I'm in a good place. Be relentless. Let's go.
Are you ready now to close down and get ready for the fight, AJ?
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready for the fight.
Ready for that time?
Yeah, it's crazy how fast it'll come and it'll go. I'm just looking forward to the actual moment, honestly. Steve, I can't wait. It can't come soon enough.
It all comes and goes, and we'll sit down in 2 years or 4. How about we sit down in 14 years?
How crazy is that? And we'll be thinking, bloody hell, 28 years ago we was on the interview talking. So let's make these the best days of our lives while they're here.
Let's make a date for the 25th anniversary of that first interview. It's always a pleasure, AJ. Go and do your stuff. I'll see you in a week. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I know you were close enough as he was talking to me yesterday, but maybe missed some of that. That's a content, AJ, and you know what I mean by that. You know, we were joking about tells. That's a content, AJ, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's a very focused AJ.
Yeah.
He's very happy in his new home with Ben Davison, isn't he? He's
Definitely.
I mean, that, obviously you would say that, but he is happy.
Yeah. I would say what you had. I don't even know what day of the week it is, to be quite honest with you. Last night or the night before was a very professional AJ.
Yeah, that's sound.
You know, he was there to do a job.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, in the last fight week when there was all that, one-word answer, you know, where's his mind at? He's very short. I would argue that was actually a fairly professional AJ.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'll get the job done. I'm not going to expend any more energy than I have to. And then I'll go back and I'll focus on the fighting.
Is this build up? I mean, I know we're only 2 days into it. Has this been a lot different to the day of reckoning?
Yeah.
Oh, it has. In what way? Andy?
Yeah. I mean, again, to take your pod listeners slightly behind the scenes.
We love that.
Obviously, the last fight was the first time that we, as a team, had been involved with other promoters in Queensbury.
Good point. Yeah.
You know, obviously the Saudi Arabian kind of promotional side of it. It was the joining of forces that haven't been joined before in our world. You know, we're obviously extremely close with Batchram and have been for many years. Both from my business, we work with Eddie and Frank and the guys, and but also obviously Anthony is, you know, lifelong promoter. We're very used to the huge shows that we've done together. The last show was a whole new world for us.
Yeah.
You know, and we're having to work with people that, frankly, in the past, you look over the other side of the fence and think, oh, they're not doing it that well.
Yeah.
And they would sling it back at us, and you know, that motivation to be better. And so it was a marriage. It was like a wedding to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know, and we're turning up at the wedding as guests thinking, okay, well, how's this all going to work? You know, and it did work. And actually, it opened a door to what we're now doing and what we'll do in the future, I think. But, you know, to answer the question directly, this promotion, this fight week has been very different because we now understand how each party works together a little bit better.
So it's been easier? Or is that the wrong word?
Yeah, it probably has.
Expected.
It's been... Yeah, I would say it has been easier in so much as the organisational side of it.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, each of these weeks all have various different challenges. For example, the fight being on a Friday night, you know, people arrive at different times.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to organise a media schedule for this week, you know, we would normally kick off a schedule on a Monday night for a Saturday fight.
Yeah.
This time round, we need to kick off on the Sunday night for a Friday fight.
Yeah.
But obviously, not everyone can get there on a Sunday night, which means we'll do our media, but only half the media are there to do. Like yourself, Bunsey.
Yeah.
You know, you're flying in to get here as quickly as you can. And
but I still missed the Sunday.
this is the thing. So, you know, there are variants in every single like fight week build-up we do that you have to work around. But it's a live situation where the fighter needs to concentrate on doing their job on the fight night. So we're having to beaver around and try and make things work as much as possible whilst still keeping that in mind. So although this week has been more straightforward than we've had in the past, there are certain lumps and bumps along the way that you have to do your best to smooth out.
So as you're getting closer to the fight, you know, AJ sort of is with you, but he's not with you. So you're not sitting around a table 28 every day, or 12 of you, or 15 of you, having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So he's with you, but you know, you're not literally bedded down with him in the same apartment or the same hotel.
No, the thing is, within his team, everyone has a certain job that they are responsible for. My specific job is the media side of things. I will be present in those moments, and I will be absent in the moments where I am not necessary. Because what good am I going to do sat in a gym watching him train 48 hours before he goes out to fight?
Absolutely.
I am a distraction. Am I there in that 12-week training camp? Do I pop along to Ben Davidson's place, watch him and say, oh, you throw the jab a bit better, you should your defence? Why on earth would I be there? Yeah. In the same way that the trainers, you know, they're not standing there judging my performance on that red carpet at that point. Totally pointless in that respect. So I'm lucky as well, and there are many members of our team who are exceptionally lucky that for some mad reason he's kept us with him since the very beginning. You know, mad loyalty, and he probably could have employed much better people and he'd be a much bigger superstar. However, we remain, thank God. But we know our jobs, we know what to do, and we don't take it personally if he doesn't want to hang out with us on fight week.
Good.
I would be very worried if I was getting a text saying, oh, do you fancy, you know, coming round to the room?
Let's go swimming.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go swimming. It's 2 a.m. I've got the
terrified.
pool open. No, that's the old Nassim Hamidry. Or let's go for a walk, Nigel Benn, at 2 o'clock in the morning. Whole 7 of them having to get dressed.
Our WhatsApp group would be popping off saying, oh, my God, what are we going to do? He's completely lost his head. That's not the way he operates.
And that means, obviously, and I'm not prying, so I don't want to pry. So Ben Davison and AJ, you know, now 4 nights out from the fight, they're not on their 6th night of sharing an apartment.
No, absolutely
you know,
not,
like playing chess with each other, playing video games, are they? No, I knew that. I was just asking for you to tell.
He's got a core team around him of trainers, you know, Ben Heine, Cena. There are people who are with him, who have been with him in camp.
Yeah.
You know, and he will surround himself with those people. It's continuity.
Yeah.
You know, to be doing the right things at the right times that a professional athlete needs to do,
Yeah.
like any top level athlete would do.
Yeah.
You know, Ronaldo will have his own person monitoring certain things.
Yeah.
You need to be sleeping better. How's your liquid intake? You know, all that stuff that has to be monitored and dealt with. He'll have the same people.
Yeah.
Like it's an extension of camp. You know, everything up until the minute he walks into that ring is camp for him, which is why this week is difficult because he's focused on doing the job.
Yeah.
And again, like we talked about earlier, he knows, goes in there and loses.
Yeah.
This is all pointless.
But, you know, I've told you, I agree with you. I've told you before about, you know, I've been around 30 odd years, so I've covered a lot of really good fighters. And the idea that you'd get Lennox Lewis on the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday.
Oh, this is what got him going last time.
Oh, yeah,
This
sorry
is-
about it.
yeah.
I'm sorry about it. I did drop you in. Now thinking about it, I did get him.
You know, but the counter argument.
It's all coming back now.
The counter argument to that, though, and obviously I couldn't have that counter argument in
Yes.
that room at that point. It would have been inappropriate, and I would have been thrown out on my ear. Is in that era,
Yeah.
the way
That
things
was
that
the
were
done
promoted is completely different.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, we live in a 24-hour news cycle, social media, clickbait, TikTok. You know, everything is now.
Hallelujah, brother. Hallelujah.
can't wait for the day for it all to
says
stop.
the boss of Soapbox London.
Yeah, and if anyone needs any help guiding that, you know where to get us. But like,
And then you can't go anywhere yet. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Francis Ngannou, and we'll roll up. We're also going to hear at the end of the show from Nick Bull, who's fighting for a world title on I nearly said Saturday night, on Friday night here in Saudi Arabia. Short break. See you in a second.
Hi, my name's Eddie Hearn, and this is No Passion, No Point. I'm excited to be back with this new series. As always, I'll be talking to top performers about what drives them, how they gain an edge over competitors, and whether their dedication to constant improvement comes at a cost.
I love golf. I play it until my hands bleed. I just enjoy going out there playing with no fear.
What makes them feel fulfilled?
It's not the money, it's not the trophies, it's the friendships and the memories I've got.
And does that change as their career progresses?
Just a girl who grew up playing football and now I'm getting pats like without even seeing the camera, like it's crazy.
From BBC Radio 5 Live. No Passion, No Point. Listen whenever you like on BBC Sounds.
So welcome back. I'm with Andy Bell, AJ's, Anthony Joshua's publicist, sitting in a restaurant about midnight, talking about AJ's schedule. Now it's the turn of Big Francis Ngannou. Now, you know, I'm going to hold my hands up. I like him. I like his backstory, and I like what he did in October against Tyson Fury. I thought that was heroic. It made me proud to be involved with this sport. But he's only been involved with this sport for a short period. This is only his second fight. But I caught up also with Francis Ngannou about 70 minutes after my plane landed. I don't mess around when I hit the ground. I hit the ground running. And he seems to be, I don't know him that well, but he seems to be in the same type of frame of mind as AJ, i.e. he's in a very good place.
I always love my life because the hardest time is the time that created the easiest time. If you don't have the hardest time, you create the easiest time. And then, in fact, you have to be very careful because easy time can create hard time. So even when things become easy, you also have to be mindful about what next and how that can be, we can all say like the time was hardest. In every hardest time you can find something glorious to be grateful about it. Just because when you're complaining, some people are 6 feet on the ground and they don't even have a chance to complain. When you're complaining outside and be strong, complaining from not winning, and some people are in the hospital. They can't even see the sunrise. They can't even eat, even though they have food, and you're out there complaining. And then maybe when you see that, I had some hard time like 13 years ago, and I was complaining. I thought like I was cursed. Everything was going hard for me. And I was doing my motorcycle, and one day I picked some guy. I carried some guy in the back of my motorcycle. And then, I was coming... I wasn't even going to this direction, but the guy has a, how do they call this stick?
A blind stick, a walking stick.
Walking stick. He has a walking stick. So I'm like, okay. Then his destination was quite a weird destination, but I'm like, just by mercy, like, okay, let's do this. I carried the guy. And when we get to the destination, the guy gave me the money. I say, bro, keep it. I have won so much than you. You know, like, because he told me about his story. We were there and he was sitting in the back and telling me about his story. Then I'm like, damn, what the fuck are you complaining about, Francis? Your life is so beautiful. You should be grateful.
Was that guy with a stick?
Yeah, so that then you realize that there's always something to be grateful about, to be joyful about. Of course, that doesn't mean I don't complain. I complain, even though I don't have a right to complain, even though I have everything to be grateful or to be joyful about. It's just a human nature, but it's good to keep that in mind and remember that all the time.
Is that why at the end of the Tyson Fury fight, which was very close, many people thought you won, you never complained, you just shrugged your shoulders?
I was living the dream. How many people in their lifetime have to get all the way there? How many people have to start where I started and get where I am? I got. You know, how many people in their lifetime have to live their dream, live in them, in the biggest stage like that, with all the lights, everything? How many people? Very few, my friend. Out of millions, out of billions. And guess what? Between those few, I'm counting among them. Why shouldn't I?
Now, Francis, there's been some talk about how much more you can learn in the gym, because in the fight with Fury, your feet were good, your balance was good, your jab was good, your cross was good, your left hook was good. How much more can you learn? Because those are the basics. How much more boxing can you learn over the last 2 months?
Good is not enough. You say good.
Yeah, I said good, but
It's not great.
improved.
It's not great. You know, it could be great. So you always seek for more. And then even when it's great, you can seek for greater or greater.
Always trying to be better.
Always trying to be better. That's why we're here. We're always trying to improve, to get a little more. That's the goal. Otherwise, all this doesn't matter. It's how to escape our limit, how to surpass ourselves.
You've been in Saudi Arabia for quite a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
Has that helped you? Do you feel at ease? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel ready?
I was ease. I mean, after the press conference in London, I came straight here and everything was organized here for me. Stella, the whole team here, the whole event coordinator, they organized everything and helped me to get into everything. Now I find my spot where whatever I need, wherever I have to go to train, to this, and everything been good. I have a good team around me. Everybody's doing his job properly. So I have to do mine, which is train, eat, sleep, repeat.
And fight.
And fight. Yeah, fight on Saturday.
By the way, you're fighting on Friday night, you know that, yeah. What does Anthony Joshua do well? What does Anthony Joshua do better than good? What's his best thing?
Well, I think he does a lot of things pretty good. He does a lot of things better than good. I mean, he's a champion, or at least a former champion, an undisputed one. So it's not argue. You can't argue the fact that he's great. You know, like he's not an average guy. He's not a guy that you walk around and find in the first gym that you step in. You know, he's one of the kind. So yes, and that's exactly why we are here. That's exactly why I'm excited, because I want to make my own statement as one of the kind.
Francis, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for sharing.
If he was a good guy, I wouldn't care about him.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing the
He's a
story.
great- I care about great, and because I want to be greater.
Thanks for sharing the story about the man with the stick on your motorbike. It's a lovely story.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that's Big Francis with a story. I've got to be honest with you. Any man who just suddenly can pull up a story about an old guy 13 years ago back in the Cameroon with a cane or a walking stick who he takes on a journey that transforms his life and just drops that casually on you, then touches you on the shoulder and exits stage left. I like it. I do. Andy, I'm a big fan of Francis Ngannou.
And that's okay.
Person and a fighter. Have you had much contact with him?
No, not really. No, obviously you see at the events, the press conferences and stuff, you have a keen eye on them, see what they're doing, see how they operate when the cameras are off, see how they operate with the
Great
people.
point.
You know, I think when you're around this for a long time, you study almost the psychology of it. And not only do you look at the fighter, you look at the people they're around,
Yeah.
and how they're acting.
Yeah.
You know, and
Whether they're always at the buffet
Yeah.
or whether they're always with a
yeah,
fighter. Yeah,
whether
good
it's
point.
their FA Cup final,
Bingo.
or And I think there have been fighters in the past where you could see immediately that they mean business.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because at the last fight, everyone looked at Wallin and thought, oh, God, he means business, doesn't he?
There's only 4 in his entourage.
Oh, God, yeah.
Ooh.
He's come here to cause real trouble. And then didn't last very long, did it?
Well, he might have come here. All of those observations might have been true until the first bell. If you don't mind me saying so.
No, totally, of course.
Because, I mean,
But that's what I've learned in this sport.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've learned that, and I am in no way a boxing expert. Until I met Anthony Joshua, I was not a boxing fan. He got me into boxing. My job with him was to promote him outside of boxing, and the boxing was a byproduct, which sounds ridiculous.
No.
But obviously, it's over 10 years. I've seen a lot of fights. I've watched a lot of opponents. I still know nothing about boxing.
You know a little bit about people.
But I like the psychology of it, and I like watching how people operate and what they do. And it was interesting, I know Joseph Parker is obviously on the card.
Yeah.
When AJ fought Parker was very deferential towards AJ. When Andy Ruiz came into town, very deferential.
Yeah, it was indeed.
The attitude changed a little bit in the second fight.
It did indeed.
It's very interesting when you watch, away from the blows being thrown, what these guys are like.
So what if anything, have you seen it in Ngannou? Because he's got a bigger entourage. It's not really. Entourage.
Yeah.
Entourage is the wrong word, really. He's got a bigger team.
The thing is, he's a big star, isn't he?
Yeah, and across loads of things. So, what have you noticed? Then, in all fairness, and let's tell the truth. There's one or two things you're holding back, and it would be nice if you could just let them go. To be perfectly honest with you, I love you and all. I haven't even had to buy you a coffee, but I'd still expect a couple of things to slip out.
Oh,
come on.
don't.
Now, what have you noticed about Big Francis and his team? Because it's not a tiny team.
No, he's a big team.
It's a big team, brother.
It's a big team, but however, again, I'm not going to crucify him for having a big team, because we've been crucified for having a big team in the past, and a lot of it is a misconception. He'll have a core group of people around him that actually work, then he'll have family with him, he'll have all these people who want to take part in this massive event and support him. That's what they're there for. So I'm absolutely not going to do that. My impressions of him, just being around and looking incredibly polite, incredibly well-mannered, obviously means business. He's a banana skin, isn't he? He's a huge banana skin.
To be honest with you, yeah.
He's another one of these, and I think you'll agree with me, Bunsey. I think we've been on the same page with this for a long time. Anthony has been in no-win situations the majority of his career.
Yeah, too many fights.
And
too many fights.
This is just another one.
Yeah.
If he beats him, he's like, well, of course he was going to beat him. The Fury wasn't ready to fight him. It was an aberration, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If he loses to him, boxing's in the dirt, Anthony Joshua's finished. Blah.
Absolutely finished.
So I don't know.
He'll be skewered.
Yeah.
He won't just be criticised. It will be
course.
really ugly.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I've personally given up predicting things. I've given up reading too much into things, and I've certainly, outside of 5 Live and your wonderful podcast,
thank you, darling,
given up listening to pundits and what they think and how the fight's going to go. Because I think if you added up the predictions of most pundits over the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say that 90% is wrong. The early knockouts turn into 12-round snore fests.
Yeah. I knew it might be 12 rounds or a first-round knockout. Yeah.
As you would say, the after-timers
what a game,
everywhere. Except for the people like yourself and Costello and a few others who have been in and around it a long time, who can now see through the ultimate BS that most of this is. I've totally given up with it. Francis, let's see. Yeah. Let's see. But what I will tell you is AJ is laser-focused, and this isn't PR talk. He is trained ridiculously. He hasn't stopped training. He's so focused. He is at a point in his career now where I think this means more than any time before. I think he has certain goals he wants to achieve, and he won't stop until he does it. And I know through my own experience with him that Anthony Joshua, motivated, is a dangerous animal. And I would worry for Mr. Ngannou, but let's see. Let's see. This is boxing.
Andy, let's see indeed. Once again, it has been an absolute pleasure and a delight talking to you. You can pop off and do all your sort of midnight stuff over there, and I'm
going to go back and see the rest of the team, which, by the way, before you wrap up, I just want to say a big shout to Freddie Cunningham at 258.
Yep.
Expert manager of Anthony, and has been for many, many years now. We've worked together for a long time. Ewan Llewellyn in my team, who helps work across his social media. Henry Baldwin, these guys work tirelessly with AJ. It's not just me.
Yeah.
I'm sat here taking a lot of credit, and I know you need to wrap this because you're going over time, but I think there are
We
so
don't care
many
about
people.
time with you, Andy. We'll go where we like.
So many people within Anthony's team who are unsung 90% of the time, but deserve so much credit, and who will banter me now for the way I warble on about myself and all of this. But these guys deserve a lot of credit, and thank you for having me as ever. And we haven't mentioned Darren Fletcher's shoes, which Paddy will cut out.
No, he won't this time. But I know one thing, about 36 minutes after the pod comes out, my phone will buzz, it'll be Fletch. Have you got Andy Bell's number?
No, he's already into me. No, he gets onto me all the time for signed gloves and other memorabilia. So, yeah.
Oh, it's all coming out in the wash now. Listen, Andy, it's a pleasure and a delight always to
Thank
spend
you,
some
Bunsey.
time with you. Thanks, man.
The drama.
They're having to be separated.